Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, July 28th, 2020 Working Group Component Standard Office Hours. This is our hour for folks to drop in, ask questions, and get help with what they're working on. All right, Amin, how can I help you?
I have the first PR that's like passing all the tests at least for the
Sweet.
instance.
Awesome. Let's take a look. Let me give you co-host. You can share your screen here.
Okay.
And then, of course, the reminder, close any tabs or anything that you might not want on the recording. Okay, you should be able to share.
I just don't see what I can share this screen here.
It should be like a green button right in the middle of the bottom
right
menu. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna start with the function that does all the magic. I think it's the best place to start with this PR.
Okay.
So the idea of having the instance, the internal values working, now we have the dynamic serialization after the config file loading.
Okay.
And then we start with the internal configuration.
Okay, so just remind me of the flow. So we load, now we're gonna load everything all the way through dynamic config. So we get to an internal shared configuration, right? And then we start doing this next step. Is that right? Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. So then we load the instance configuration with the, so we can, I think what we said we were going to do, we're going to construct an instance configuration. We're going to copy any duplicate values from the shared into the instance. Then we're going to unmarshal the file into the instance that we just defaulted based on those duplicate values. And then we're going to copy the duplicate values back over the shared. Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay, great. Let's walk through it.
Merge instance. So here I have the generate external config. We can change the names later, but
sure.
The idea is to start with the external and get this internal one and convert the internal to external. So here we create one shared external instance of the internal that was serialized from the dynamic or the config file.
So this goes, let's see, external, we take an internal in, returns. Okay, so this is going from, I think we want, we could just do two separate internal types, right? We don't need to go. All right, why don't you just walk me through how you did it? And then, like, yeah, I have some thoughts, but yeah, let's keep going.
Okay, so here we transform everything to the external one. So I have a shared external and an instance external, and we merge them together, the external one, because we need the default, right?
Yes. Okay, yeah, that's one way to do it.
Yeah, so I have the external shared and the external instance here. Now we serialize the config instance file using this instance defaulted, and then we override this defaulted. That's not more the defaulted, but it's the config instance already serialized from the file, the instance file.
Okay. Yep.
Now we convert them back in the internal. both sides and do the kubelet config flag precedence, merge this configuration. That's the real merge of the internal.
Got it.
Because they're merging the instance configuration into the shared, so they have the same values, and then apply the feature gate.
The feature gates, yeah. Okay.
Then you return and life goes on.
Okay, I think that looks pretty good. I guess the only question I had was why we have to go through the external to get the like we could, because what we could do I think is construct the instance specific one by just constructing the external instance specific one, defaulting it, converting it to the internal, and then only copying like shared values between the internal types, which keeps both our merges on the internal. I think the advantage of that is it's maybe a little simpler from an implementation perspective because we don't need to re-implement that external merge every time a version changes. But the disadvantage of it is that if like for some reason we wanted to change how values were merged between them in a future API version, like we would have to go back to what you just did here. That said, like today, I don't see any merge behavior, I guess, other than feature gates and feature gates aren't going to be instance specific ever anyway, as far as I know. So it might be good to start with just internal merges now, just for simplicity. And then like in the future, if we decide we want to change something across an API version boundary, we can go to the external approach. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. There is one case that I remember we need to do that. When you have a value in the config shared file, for example.
Yeah.
Right? So this value here needs to be copied to the instance one. So when we load the config file instance, if we don't have anything here, it still gets this value.
We can, what if we load config instance file is just like load the other loader, right? So it returns an internal type.
It returns an external type for this case.
Okay.
And it gets this object and gets all the values from this object and dumps from the external types.
Okay. Yeah.
So we are copying the values from the shared. This way you can marshal the file on top of the shared values.
Yeah, you're right, because we'd have to go, okay, so we would have to, if we wanted the merges to only be on internal, we'd have to construct the instance external, default it, convert it to the internal, copy the duplicate values over to the internal, then reconvert it back to the external, so that we can unmarshal on top of it and then re-default it. Yeah, so it gets super complicated either way. Yes. So yeah, I guess this is probably fine. I'll probably like take a look at it and try to think through, different edge cases of it. But yeah, I think this will be roughly equivalent in complexity.
Okay. I have set up some initial tests for this function with the possible combinations that we expect, like which the default values in both instances and override with flags, and passing a shared address from the file, and we serialize this file. And
cool.
goes on with some combinations. Probably I'm missing something, but most of them are here.
Yeah, that looks great. Cool. It's super exciting to see this coming together. Did you have any other questions while you were implementing it?
No, every other suggestion is working.
Great. All right. Well, I need to take some time to give you a real review
Mm-hmm.
then, and then maybe let's sync up. I can get that done sometime this week, and then let's sync up next week on that, and hopefully, I think we get everything sort of ship shape, and then we can go update the KEP. Use this as the example, get the KEP merged, and get this merged.
Awesome. I'll try to do the same for the kube proxy to get an idea of these things as well in this week.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a good idea. I would probably do a separate PR for that. Kube proxy is very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
Maybe the other part of this could be bring some E2E tests.
Potentially. Yeah, I don't know how much value we get from an end-to-end test, since most of this is just parsing logic. We can probably test it all in unit tests.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about not testing the main command call,
Mm-hmm.
The main Cobra command, I'm just testing the function that does the merge. But like we are not, we are getting from the principle that it starts with some value.
We can definitely, what I would do probably is update the end-to-end tests to start using the instance configuration file as well. And that'll give us some signal that it's been tested all the way through. You could also write an integration test to do it, so you wouldn't have to turn up a whole cluster.
Yeah, it's only a suggestion, maybe.
Cool. Yeah, awesome. So yeah, feel free to take some time looking at kube proxy this week. I'll take some time to review this week, and then we'll sync up next week.
Oh, thanks, Michael.
Yeah, thank you, Amin. Looks like great work so far.
Okay, bye-bye.
Take care.